All right, have you ever wondered what a completely different blueprint for global geopolitics might actually look like? Well, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating, highly structured geopolitical framework proposed by Dr. Ibrahim Abdullah Sälkini. We'll be looking at exactly how he envisions an entire architectural system designed from the ground up to reshape how states interact on a global scale.
In his book, From Modern Enslavement to the Globalization of Islam, Dr. Sälkini throws out a pretty bold primary argument, which is that the current global system is fundamentally flawed. So we're going to impartially explore the precise, meticulous architectural prerequisites he states are absolutely necessary to build a new global model. It's a massive, comprehensive blueprint, and honestly, whether you agree with the premise or not, the sheer structure of the argument itself is incredibly interesting to map out.
So, here's our game plan today. 1. We look at the reality of modern enslavement. 2. The foundational legal and administrative systems. 3. The absolute need for future foresight. And 4. The concrete stages of building this proposed globalization. Let's start with part 1. What the source defines as the core problem of our era, the reality of modern enslavement. The author points to a glaring double standard in international law right now, specifically things like the UN veto power. He argues this allows strong nations to act purely on self-interest with total impunity, and he actually frames this as a systemic, modern form of enslavement. The proposed alternative to this? A framework demanding universal justice, completely stripped of favoritism and corruption.
And how does this current system stay in place? Well, according to the text, it's the media. It acts as the ultimate modern tool of control. By constantly reversing truths, populations are literally conditioned to accept oppression as completely normal, making victims look like aggressors and masking corruption as righteousness.
Which brings us to part 2, the foundations of the legal and administrative system.
Okay, here's the catch. The author says this globalization cannot happen overnight. It requires 4 strict foundational pillars to be established first. Highly qualified individuals, just laws derived from Sharia, intense future awareness, and a really strong administrative system to regulate relations between states. These aren't just distant goals. They serve as an absolute non-negotiable prelude before the globalization of Islam can even be attempted.
It literally all starts with the individual. The leaders of this massive structure must possess the absolute highest ethical standards. We're talking about leaders completely stripped of ego or the love of power, driven solely by a constant awareness of divine oversight. This is to ensure their authority actually serves the collective rather than just themselves.
Structurally, the text describes this required administrative system like, well, think of it like a vast, interconnected geometric mosaic. It links diverse states together, but without forcing them to blend into one single homogenized blob. It fiercely protects unique local customs and laws while holding everyone securely under a much broader geopolitical umbrella.
To manage that delicate balance, independent states would consolidate under just 4 core sovereign ministries: foreign affairs, defense, the economy, and intelligence. That's the whole shebang for the central authority. It's a highly strategic setup because it allows the collective to project massive, unified global strength while leaving day-to-day internal affairs entirely to the local governments.
There's this really fascinating quote from the source where the author points out that human emotion is dangerously unpredictable. He argues that emotional decision-making is an absolute disaster for institutions. To survive, the system requires a mature, legally grounded framework to keep things strictly rational and just, balancing the flaws of human nature with rigorous oversight.
Moving right along to Section 3, the critical importance of future foresight.
For this system to work, looking ahead isn't just a nice-to-have luxury. The text frames it as both a religious and a highly practical duty. It states that states fall when they fail to anticipate future crises. So, a successful global architecture must inherently be designed to outlive its current generation of leaders.
So how exactly do you plan for the unknown? The author lays out specific steps: intentionally training a layer of young, experienced leaders to seamlessly take over, obsessively mapping out expected global shifts in military and economic power, and blending modern predictive data with historical, prophetic strategy to navigate those shifts.
And finally, we arrive at Section 4, the actual stages of building this Islamic globalization.
This isn't just abstract theory. The author actually maps out a concrete 15 to 25-year work period to pull this off. It starts subtly with Stage 1, uniting independent states merely on broad shared concepts. Next comes actively strengthening media and economic ties. Stage 3 brings true prosperity through a unified currency and industrial growth. And it all culminates in Stage 4, total stability, anchored by deep internal security and a highly vigilant public.
But as we look at this vast, completed framework, we have to return to the author's foundational premise. Despite the unified currencies, the future foresight, and those massive sovereign ministries, this entire structure rests heavily on the shoulders of the single ethical individual. If the individual is corrupt, the entire global architecture simply collapses.
I'll leave you with this provocative thought. As global power dynamics shift at lightning speed right before our eyes, will our current international systems adapt, or are we witnessing the preconditions for entirely new architectures like this one to take root? Understanding these comprehensive models gives us a much sharper lens to view our changing world. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the structures around you.